Alright, this is my second video. Unit 1, Topic 2, which is about transformation. So there's a lot of memorization in this one. There are 3 transformations. There's rotation 90, 180, 270. There's reflections across the x-axis, across the y-axis, and there's translations, and that's just going up, down, right, and left. So we're going to do number 8 through 16 in this video. Number 8. Point A, -1, -4 has to be transformed to point A prime using the translation rule. X minus 3, y plus 6. What are the coordinates of A prime? Okay, so -1, -4. After it goes through this rule, you want to subtract 3 from the x. So -1 minus 3. 1 negative, 3 negatives is 4 negatives. And you want to add 6 to the y. So I'm going to do -4 plus 6. 4 negatives with 6 positives is 2 positives. So the answer is -4 too. Number 9. And this is a transformation. Oh yeah, we covered that. So number 9, triangle ABC. ABC has been transformed to A prime, B prime, C prime. Alright. State in words the transformation or plural that produces. So it looks like to me, if you're going from here to here, you're going to move right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and down 1, 2, 3. So this is a translation. Specifically 5 right and 3 down. Okay, write a rule. So right and left deal with the x. So right is positive, and then down deals with the y, up and down is negative. So it's x plus 5, y minus 3. And why must they be congruent? So whenever you move this right and then down, your shape doesn't change in size or shape. Okay, so this triangle is the same shape and same size. So why must they be congruent? Because rigid transformations do not change in shape or size, unlike dilation. Right? C, on the coordinate plane above, sketch the reflection of ABC across the x-axis. Label the triangle DEF. Write the function rule for the line. Okay. So we're going to highlight the x-axis, which is this thing right here. And we're going to reflect ABC across this. So all I do is I just count to the yellow line. So for C, 1, 2, past it, 1, 2, new dot. For A, 1, 2, 3, 4, past it, 1, 2, 3, 4, new dot. And let's make, it says C goes with F. So this would be my F. And A goes with C, so this would be C. And for B, it's already on the yellow line, so it doesn't have to do anything. It stays, and it becomes B. Alright, so there's my DEF. Make it look pretty. Connect your dots. Alright, write the function rule for this transformation. So you want to make sure you draw it because that's worth points. And then you want to write the function rule. So the function rule for a reflection over the x-axis is x stays the same and y changes. Now, if you forget this, you can always look at a point. So c is at negative 1, 2, 3, 4, up 2. And when you reflected, f was located at negative 4, negative 2. So you can notice that for a reflection across the x-axis, the x stayed exactly the same, and the y changed. So even if you don't memorize this, you can kind of figure it out. But I always remember x-axis, x stays the same. Y-axis, y stays the same. Oh my gosh, this one's long. Let's pause for a second. All right, so for me, number 10 is mostly just a memorization. If you forgot some of the rules, some of them you can use a graph and try to play with it. And I'll do that for the hardest one, the last one. So, but the other ones I would just memorize. So for A, reflection across the x-axis, x stays the same. Easy. Reflection across the y-axis, y stays the same. So put y and then x changes. 6 to the right, so that's positive. 2 down, that's negative. Down is with the y, and right is with the x. Okay, so you're going to have, for your rule, x plus 6, y minus 6. All right, rotations are the next 3. All right, for rotation of 90 and 270, when it says counterclockwise 90, I kind of cross that off, and I write 270. Okay, 90 counters the same as a 270. So for a 90 degrees clockwise, you switch them. So the x becomes y and y becomes x. And it affects, this is smaller out of 270, right? 90, 180, 270, 90 is the smallest. It affects the second one. It's not very strong. That's how I remember it. It affects the second one. 180 doesn't switch. They just become opposites. And for 270, they switch. And 270 is strong, powerful, big number. It affects the first one. Oops. When you switch them, they're just like this. And then this becomes opposite because 270 is the bigger number. That's how I memorize it. You can find another way to memorize it. Or you can rotate your paper and do all of that nice stuff that your teacher taught you. All right, G, translate to down. So down, the word down has to do with the y, and it's a negative. And then reflected across the x-axis. So when it's double things like this, I kind of do it 2 at a time. So, or one and then the other. So 2 down. So if you start with xy, and then you go 2 down, that's going to turn into x stays the same, y minus 2. Okay, and then you're going to take this one and reflect it across the x-axis. So when you take this and you reflect it across the x-axis, remember that the x stays the same, and these become opposites. So this positive y becomes a negative y, and this negative 2 becomes a positive 2. Trying to trick you there. All right, and finally the last one. I hate this one. Reflected across the line, x equals 1. So I'm going to use this chart at number 11 to help me with this. Here's x equals 1. It's sort of like the y-axis, but just over 1. And I always pick the numbers negative 1, 3. All right, so there's negative 1, 3. And I'm going to reflect it over here. So I'm going to count 1, 2, across 1, 2. So my new point becomes 3, 3. Sorry. 3. All right, and I think to myself, how in the world do I get that? So the first thing I notice is the y stays the same. So if you are reflecting across x equals 1, my y is definitely going to stay the same. Like I said, it's sort of like reflecting across the y-axis. So I'm going to change my x so it's opposite. Reflecting across the y-axis, y stays the same, x changes. And then I think, okay, well, if I reflect this across the x-axis, I would land here, right, because this is the x-axis. And then how much more do I need to go to reach my final destination? I need to go 2 more. So I'm going to add 2. All right, very confusing, I know. Hopefully there's not a question like that on the exam. But if there is, that is a way to do it. All right, next I'm going to do number 11. So in some of your packets, this might be number 4, depending on if you have the renumbered packet or not. But for my packet, it's number 11. So A, reflect the figure across the line y equals 1. Okay, so this is easy because they're not asking me to write a rule. So y equals 1 is this line right here. And I know it's this line and not the vertical line this way because it actually touches y at 1. Okay, so y equals 1 is this horizontal line like this. All right, that's the first step. You got to know what this looks like. Otherwise, you can't do this problem. All right, so I'm just going to count A, 1, 2, pass it, 1, 2. There's A prime. B, 1, 2, pass it, 1, 2, B prime. C, 1, 2, 3, 4, pass, 1, 2, 3, 4, land right there. And D, same thing, 4, it's going to land right there. Make it look nice and pretty. Next dot, do a better job than me. And bam, reflect the figure across. Done. All right, part B. Does the transformation preserve? So when you preserve something in the fridge, you keep it the way it is. So does the length and angle stay the same? Yeah, you can see AB is 2, and in this AB, A prime, B prime, it's 2. Angles look the same to me, so yes. It's rigid transformation, meaning the size and shape stays the same. Reflections are rigid transformations. So remember, the 3 rigid transformations are reflection, translation, and rotation. All right, part C. If the figure was reflected across the x-axis, so let's reflect this one across the x-axis. So 1, remember this is the x-axis. So 1, pass, it would land there. So, and then translated 2 up. 1, 2. Would the result be the same? Well, it definitely worked for A. Let's try it for D. So reflect across the X to the yellow. So 1, 2, 3 across. 1, 2, 3 right there. And then 2 up. That worked as well. So yes, this works. Yes, it would be the same. All right, number 12.